I created the strongest female character in the history of all anime. In the history of anime, there have been a lot of cool and powerful female characters brought to light. In this video, we're going to make one that will trump them all by making the strongest female character in the history of all anime. Naturally, if we're gonna go all out with every anime as our choice, we need to set up a ground rule so this won't be completely insane. And that rule is that if you pick a trait, weapon, ability, or anything like that from one universe, that's the only thing you can pick from it. For example, taking Star and Stripes' new rule quirk will mean that My Hero Academia universe is close to us from then on. With that out of the way, let's get started. From our original female character, we'll be naming her Aurora, which is usually a term for the Aurora Borealis or Northern Lights. That's because it's both super cool and the celestial nature of the name fits well with some of the power she'll be getting. It's also multi-layered with different colors, and considering the sheer amount of goodies we're gonna use to boost her up, it felt appropriate. When creating a character, you gotta ask what they're gonna look like. And for that, we'll first need to figure out what species she'll be. In the wide world of anime, it's hard to find the ideal race, but in this case, we'll have Aurora's race be a true dragon from So I'm a Spider. So what? Now, this may seem like an out-of-nowhere pick, but true dragons aren't just a fancy name for giant lizards. They're basically god beings with unfathomable power. Our example of the power of true dragons comes from Gulliadistodies, or Kuro, which is the only one we have seen so far. And keep in mind that by true dragon standards, he is a weakling. Despite that, he's the strongest being on the planet. His stats are so powerful that they are beyond the system's limit to process. Hell, he's still the strongest despite siphoning much of his power into the world in order to keep it stable, and is still kept from being involved in the story because there straight up wouldn't be any conflict otherwise. To keep that point about his power, Shirori's Evil Eye of Gluttony has the ability to drain a planet or two of its energy in a matter of minutes. And it took the thing hours to wear down Kuro, and just a reminder, he's a shrimp compared to other true dragons. Besides their naturally overwhelming power, making Aurora a true dragon also means that she has access to their aura, or true dragon barrier, or boundary field, which allows her to control the area's rules and principles, meaning that physics is just a suggestion in the area around a true dragon. They also have some shapeshifting between their human form and their massive dragon form. Plus, true dragons only get stronger with time. To start off our foray into OP-dom, we'll start our character off with the appropriately named almighty ability of Yhwach from Bleach. Now, Bleach has had some crazy abilities like Aizen's broken illusions or the entire existence of Ichigo, yet in that world of power, you won't find anything as overwhelmingly strong as the Almighty. The power is pretty confusing, but basically, Almighty allows the user to both see and alter the future as they wish. Its wielders' irises and pupils increase in numbers to symbolize their ability to see into everything like a divine being. And that's not the end of it. There's no real way to understand or counter this ability, according to Yhwach himself, and you'll see why. With the Almighty, Aurora gains omni-precognition, which allows her to see everything from the present to the distant future. And I'm not talking about the future in a straight line, no. I mean that every possible future is now available for her to see and understand. With this view of reality, our character will always know what's happening or will happen around her, and she can strategize and counter anything coming to her. But that's not the true power of the Almighty. The real kicker comes from the power of future transformation, which grants Aurora the ability to alter the future as she wishes. She could create a sinkhole where an enemy will appear and trap them. She can strike at her foes before they even know where they're gonna attack. Hell, even her own death can be rewritten with the Almighty. This is because of the other aspect of this technique, the adaptability. With omni-precognition, Aurora will both know and understand everything that will happen, which means that she can adapt to any attack and ability because, according to Yhwach, any power understood by the Almighty is powerless against the user, which basically makes her invincible. With that kind of power, it's clearly not possible for Yhwach to be beaten. Well, spoilers, he was. And while plot contrivance played a big part because Kubo made another character too powerful for logic to beat, there are some weaknesses of the Almighty. For one, it's useless against the Soul King, as in it turns it blank if one uses the Almighty to see the future or any piece of him, though this is admittedly not as big of a drawback for our character. The other major weakness is that while it manipulates the future, it can't really do much about the past, so if someone tries to go back in time to hurt Aurora, she'll be pretty defenseless because Almighty has no way of seeing it happen. Another weakness is illusions. Powerful illusions like Aizen's have the capabilities of interfering with and manipulating the Almighty. Like when Aizen tricked Yhwach into thinking only a few minutes had passed when it was in fact quite a bit more. There's also his link to Hashwalth, which could end the Almighty because if he dies while wielding it, it's gone and the dangers of still silver blocking it, but those don't really apply to Aurora. Regardless of those weaknesses, the Almighty is the ultimate nuh-uh to most forms of attacks and will serve her well in battle. If we're making the strongest female character, it's only right that she gets a boost from the most iconic magical girl in anime, Sailor Moon. Now, you've all heard about the memes on how Sailor Moon can beat Goku, and it's true. Sailor Moon has a ridiculous amount of abilities in her arsenal, and it's gonna be hard to pick just one. But if we're going for strongest, it has to be her Lambda power. Now strap yourselves in because there's a very, very long list of things our character can now do. Lambda is an awakening power of Sailor Moon that was introduced in Sailor Moon Cosmos, created as a result of all the galaxy's Sailor crystals combined into one and focused by the Cosmo Crystal, creating the Lambda form. Its base principles are that it involves rebirth and restoration, since it managed to make the universe static and bring back the fallen Sailor Guardians. But it's also a massive power boost since it combines all the powers of the Sailor crystals into one user, in this case, Aurora. Because the Lambda power uses the crystals of other Sailors across the galaxy, that means we get their powers and traits as well, which is quite something considering the monstrous capabilities of these girls. For one, Aurora is already a genius because she gets Sailor Mercury's intelligence, which is clocked at a 300 IQ, along with her power of mist and water manipulation. She can destroy most enemies now thanks to the power of Sailor Saturn and her death aspect, which includes the power of silence, which can end all life and nearly wipe out all life in the universe. She can also create masterful illusions with plenty of complexity, thanks to the intelligence boost, and paralyze her opponent like Sailor Saturn did against Pharaoh 90. Then there's Sailor Uranus and her wind manipulation, like world shaking, allowing her to use any kind of aerial attacks. She also has the terrifying power of Sailor V and her Toon Face, which may sound cute, but essentially means she's gained full meta awareness as she can see time recaps and info boxes on the screen, which gives her the knowledge of how the script goes. Oh, and her karate chops can cause explosions. The last Sailor Guardian I'll mention is Sailor Galaxia, the lady who was once the strongest Sailor Guardian before turning evil. With the Lambda power, she can access Galaxia's telepathy and mind control, which Aurora can use to make someone completely subservient to her. She has an attack negation ability which can block most blasts and strikes from harming her, and electricity-based attacks which can easily wipe out planets. The Lambda power also generally powers up Aurora with an energy capable of restoring a universe as well as enhanced sight that could see what's happening on the Earth's moon from Uranus, Neptune, or outside space and time, as well as an enhanced sense of smell. Keep in mind that I'm not running out of powers Aurora has now, but simply time to talk about it as she has the collective and immense might of every Sailor Guardian in the galaxy. It's a hidden fact that gag anime characters usually have the strongest abilities because they have to contend with cartoonish level logic and madness, making them impervious to most things. But even among gag characters, few lament their overwhelming power like Saiki Kusuo, who wishes nothing more than to live an average high school life but is stuck with overwhelmingly powerful psychic abilities, which we'll gladly take for Aurora. I promise, this is only partly an advertisement for watching the disastrous life of Saiki K. As he was born with extraordinary psychic powers, his body had to adapt in order to handle the immense strains, and so will Aurora. As such, she'll be getting that very same body, which means that her physical strength and resistance are enough to go through the earth and destroy it without so much as a scratch. She can move at such an incredible level that she can play high-speed catch with herself. Her mind and senses will be at an extraordinary level, and that's just based on Saiki's limited capabilities. As for his abilities, well, there are too many to name, but we do have the basics like teleporting, telepathy, telekinesis, mind control, and flight. Basic understandable stuff. Then you get the weirder abilities like psychometry, which lets the user know the history of anything they touch, and petrification, which gives the user the ability to turn anyone they look at to stone. There's a port, which allows the user to summon an item from anywhere or switch their positions. Every kind of kinesis from cryo to electro. Aurora will also get precognition, which allows her to basically see into the future and the ability to time travel either forward or backward. There's also the restoration ability, which can restore something to a specific point. Usually it's 24 hours, but without a limiter, it can go back in years. She'll also get perfect shapeshifting abilities, transforming into anything she could desire. The two biggest abilities that we're going to talk about are bilocation, which is essentially cloning. Each clone may potentially look off from the original, so there's no point in using them as decoys, but they have the same powers and feelings as the original. So imagine an army of Auroras capable of causing mass destruction. The only risk is that damage to the original affects all the clones, so she'll have to stay back a bit. The other big ability comes in the form of a gag, but is canon, so we're including it, and it's the ability of materialization or creation. Like the name gives away, it essentially allows Saiki to create something from nothing. Now, you'd think that he must have a clear understanding of the structure, but he managed to create his limiters, an object he doesn't fully understand, so just the wish or idea of the thing is enough to create it. Having this is a game breaker of an ability, and Aurora is more than happy to use it. With all that power, there must be some kind of weakness, right? Well, his weakness is more his lack of control over his own abilities. Saiki's power grows at a rapid pace, meaning he needs to constantly train and control himself, or he'll accidentally blow up the planet. He's also got a bit of a seasickness, but Aurora's a sailor technically, so she's got her sea legs and an unfathomable amount of power to boot. With the powers all selected, it's time to pick Aurora's traits, and we'll be starting off with the autonomous Ultra Instinct style of Wisp from Dragon Ball Super. Now, you might be asking yourself a few questions like, why put this in traits instead of power or ability? Simple. While Goku unlocks Ultra Instinct as a transformation, it's essentially a principle of what the pinnacle of martial arts looks like and doesn't require power but training, as seen in the Dragon Ball Super manga, when Master Roshi briefly used Ultra Instinct himself. And of course, if we're gonna get that kind of talent, it should be from the master, Whis. personal attendant of the 7th universe's god of destruction. Now, Ultra Instinct is the ultimate technique of the gods in which the link between the conscious and unconscious is severed, and the body moves independently of the user. This is to counter the main flaw in fighting, in which the process to decide what move to make causes a delay in reaction and power. Our main example is Goku's transformation in the tournament, but keep in mind that that's a flawed and weakened version of the one we've seen in the whole show, Whizz's. He can use it constantly, and so he's always able to react to any attack coming for him, no matter what. And now Aurora will too. For our next trait, we're gonna be taking a look at the One Punch Man world. Now, with the rule in place, you'd think we'd immediately go for the heaviest hitter Saitama as our choice, but we like to do things a little differently around here, and instead pick the sort of villain Garo and his accelerated development. The biggest factor that makes Garo such a major threat to the Hero Association, and later to, spoilers, at the beginning of his introduction, he claimed that he'd have no chance as an S-Class hero. Yet, he very soon became strong enough to trounce Tank Top Master. Part of this development is due to his super level of adaptability. Whenever Garo seems to be in a crisis, like when he fights his master or when he's blinded, his body adapts itself to become stronger or improve his eyesight immediately. Even Saiyans don't improve as quickly as he does. In fact, this rapid development is how he managed to gain and use multiple fighting styles and even created his own, another spoiler, Saitama style, that briefly made him his equal. Keep in mind that Garo is fully human for most of this. So imagine what that kind of improvement rate would do for Aurora. She is a true dragon who only goes stronger with time and training, so this will help her reach a god state easily. Plus, she's got the power of Psychic Kuso, who's a phenomenal psychic with powers that only grow stronger, and we've seen that he does train his abilities in the show, but it's combined with Garo's development. Aurora can reach new heights and strengths, which makes this an easy choice. Finally, for our characters to be the best of the best, they need to think like the best, which is why we're going to pair Aurora's 300 IQ with the strategic brilliance of Shikamaru Nara from Naruto. While he comes off as a lazy bum, mostly because he is, Shikamaru is one of, if not the most, brilliant characters in Naruto. In his career, he became Deputy Commander of the 4th Division and Chief Strategist of the Allied Shinobi Forces, second in command to the 7th Hokage, and then, spoilers, the 8th Hokage. The reason for that is that people understand and appreciate just how clever and intelligent he is, with qualities that kind of make him more ideal to be the Hokage than Naruto himself. To understand his strategy and intelligence, Shikamaru demonstrated his ability to win against foes more powerful than him like the Sound Ninja in the Chunin exam, and displayed his skill when he nearly beat Tamari and surrendered because he logically knew he was out of cards, but that ability to understand his skills, his surroundings, and his opponents made him a Chunin while fresh off from being a Genin. Shikamaru's general strategy is the same. He studies the behavior of all combatants, gradually learning how they react in any given situation. He keeps track of where everything is located in relation to everything else, including features that lack obvious practical use. He stays aware of all actions made by allies and opponents, even those that seem insignificant at the time or that he does not yet understand. By concentrating on this enormous quantity of information, Shikamaru can think 10 moves ahead of his opponent and come up with over 100 tactics, from which he immediately selects the most successful. If we combine that kind of strategy and insight with all of Aurora's other qualities, then we've completed our character and can begin to test her out against some of the strongest characters in anime. For our first fight, we're gonna pick from the world of One Piece, and few are as much of a threat as one of the biggest names in the sea, like Charlotte Linlin or Big Mom, one of the 4 emperors of the sea with a bounty of nearly 4.5 billion and Aurora's current opponent. Now, Big Mom is a serious threat to consider because not only is she a massive woman with Herculean strength, she also has a lethal devil fruit to boot. Big Mom is a world-level threat who destroys countries for the sake of sweets, and whose pirate army matches the likes of Whitebeard's in its prime. Despite her childish personality, she's very clever and managed to manipulate and barter her way to gain strong ties to many powerful clans and organizations. Her strength is some of the highest in the series, where many have stated that she could destroy Toto Land with brute strength alone, and that's the least of what she can do. She even managed to clash with Kaido for 2 days straight with no signs of injury. She's tough enough to take an enhanced Thunderbolt from Zeus with no issue, and a regular bolt managed to knock out Vinsmoke Judge. Her speed is fast enough to catch up with the likes of Luffy and Sanji. Her double fruit is the Soru Soru no Mi, which basically allows her to manifest people's souls as something she can grab and control. She could take away the soul's lifespan, turn them into homies that follow her commands, or use them to heal herself. Her hockey skill is naturally one of the best, with all 3 types mastered. With the stats given, the fight begins as Big Mom squares off against Aurora, and puts Aurora on the defensive, though her reasons aren't so clear. While Big Mom is a threat, her Almighty makes any attack from her a non-issue, but she wants to observe and learn from her attacks, and so plays defensively in order to learn as much as possible, thanks to her toughness gained from Psyche giving her the defense needed. Aurora notices Big Mom's use of souls when she uses the Almighty to see Big Mom successfully destroy her by taking her lifespan. With that knowledge in hand, she starts to strike from a distance, using energy blast from her sailor powers and telekinesis to toss objects, though that's just a distraction. When Aurora feels she's learned all she needs, she uses the Sailor Saturn of Silence ability and wipes Big Mom from existence. For the next fight, Aurora is going to face off against the mother of all chakra, the biggest bad in Naruto, Kaguya Otsutsuki. Now, the anime and, honestly, great games make it pretty clear she's a real world-ending danger, but let's go even further, with many commenting that she clearly surpasses Madara, infused with the power of the Ten Tails. Her eating the chakra fruit has also led to her ability to manipulate space and time when she's shown to travel between dimensions with ease, and can clearly take a lot of people with her. She can even merge with that dimension and gain the ability to control it. She's not just a distant fighter, as her combat skills let her handle Sasuke and Naruto at the same time with ease. She can use all 5 chakra natures and absorb chakra with ease, meaning ninjutsu is useless against her. She's got all the powers of Byakugan and even has a Rinne Sharingan, so all the classic moves from those dojutsus are hers to use. She even has special techniques like the 80 Gods vacuum attack, which involves giant chakra punches, and her ash bones, which can disintegrate anyone hit by them. All in all, a serious threat. Let's see how Aurora fares. Now, the fight already has Aurora at a disadvantage, since while she can teleport anywhere in space, hers is limited to within the current dimension, so she has no way of tracking Kaguya. She attempts to use the Almighty, and it helps when she finds many futures with her disintegrated by one of Kaguya's ash bones. Still, the constant teleporting and moving about has inspired Aurora and accelerated her development with her teleportation skill from Psyche, now allowing her to go between realities as well. After that, it becomes a matter of getting the right strike on Kaguya, who isn't easy to track as she suspects something thanks to her Byakugan, and so tricks Aurora into thinking she won by using powerful Genjutsu from the Sharingan to keep her pacified. And the Almighty is no help against powerful illusions. Aurora doesn't stay down for long, as she already suspects something thanks to her high IQ, and forces harm on her own body to wake up. While Kaguya is surprised by the recovery, she uses Saturn's silence to destroy Kaguya and win the battle. And our final fight will be against one of the most recognized and iconic characters in the overpowered main character genre of anime, the man who started it all, the Caped Baldy. With his fearless hero name, it's no wonder he's taking down so many threats. But what are his stats? Simple. Limitless. Saitama is a one-punch man, meaning that he has defeated almost every one of his enemies with a single punch. He's so strong that he now suffers from boredom because there's no one left who can match him. Quite literally, no attack in the series has been able to damage him, whether a meteor or a planet-destroying blast from a super alien. His strength is out of this world, which is where most of his enemies end up if they're not Red Mist. His, spoilers, sneeze managed to blow away half of Jupiter. His sneeze! His speed is great enough that he can jump from the moon to Earth in a few seconds. During his big fight against, spoilers, Garo, Saitama connected to evolve until he turned into a super being that surpassed light speed, physics, and time, and we're gonna put that behemoth against Aurora. From first glance, Aurora wouldn't be impressed by Saitama and would try to blast him away. When it proves to be useless, she uses her other abilities to strike only to find him standing. That's when the two of them start going at it for real, with both going hand to hand, and Aurora is showing impressive signs of winning as her autonomous Ultra Instinct helps her deflect any attack from Saitama and use impressive force to harm him. That is when the problem arises. Saitama is evolving too, at a faster rate than her. No matter what she does, Saitama recovers. She's finding that even the Almighty is getting slowly countered, as if its presence is only strengthening Saitama. That's when she realizes that she can't beat him. No matter what she throws, it won't be enough. Saitama is designed to always be stronger with every punch, and Aurora cannot match that growth. So she strategizes. If she can't beat him now, she'll have to look for a point in time when she could. Then she activates her full Lambda power to destroy Pa, to be sure. And that's how Aurora managed to beat the invincible Saitama. So, do you think our female character will be even the strongest of the strongest men out there? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon for more.